The great outdoors. I love finding myself out here in the beautiful Sonoran Desert. You know what I'm noticing a lot these days is that I'm noticing a lot of people saying that their awareness is making them miserable. And this is very paradoxical to me because my awareness has led to nothing but ease and happiness and joy in my life. Sure, it did start off a little bit rocky. It was a little bit rough because you do start to see things clearly. But if you get stuck in that phase, because that's what it is, it's just a phase of awareness. And if you get stuck in that phase, then you might not enjoy it very much. But if you're watching this and you feel like this is you, you've come into awareness, you've kind of woken up a little bit, your consciousness has risen, and you're finding it hard to connect to people, or you're finding it hard to want to be around big groups of people, because you kind of see through the veil. You see everybody's masks, you see all of the ignorance, really. And it's hard because you can't just, peel that film away from their eyes. And you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's the frustrating thing, is like we can't awaken everybody. But I got to tell you that this is a fade. This is a certain level of awareness, and it's a lower tier level of awareness. And you have to pair this with the fact that you are not your thoughts, you are not your body, you are the centered stillness behind all of this. And that you have to become even more aware and realize that you have preferences. The reason that you're upset about everyone being a certain way, or being asleep, or not willing to wake up, not even trying to be more self-aware, more conscious, you have a preference, and you need people to change so that you will feel better. And you have to realize this. This is a deep realization. And once you become aware of that, and you ask yourself why is it that you need the outside world and other people to conform to the way you want to see it for you to feel good? Once you become aware of that, you can learn to drop it. You can learn to do some self-inquiry, figure out why you need that, and then let it go. Because letting go is really, really one of the big reasons why I feel so much happier today than I have ever in my life. I've let go of so many things. I've let go of a lot of weight and a lot of baggage. And if you're waiting for the world to change for you to feel better, it's going to be a long wait, my friend. There's a book called, it's called Letting Go by Richard Dawkins, but he has another book, and I can't exactly remember the name. But look up his books. It was one of his first books, and it's kind of like the foundational book for the rest of them, because he has a very metaphysical point of view of life, but he grounds it in science. And that first book, I wish I could remember the name, but I can't. It's very dry, it's very jargon heavy. But in that book, he talks about a consciousness scale. He talks about how this consciousness scale is from 0 to 1,000. And 0 is basically dead, right? You're asleep, unconscious. And 1,000 is the highest level of consciousness, which is pure love, right? When we reach this state of pure love just emanating through us, this is You essentially become a ball of light. But it's interesting because what he says is that 85% of people walking around this planet are only at around 250. And this just recently has ticked up a little bit. Like there has been a level of consciousness that has risen amongst most people in this world over the last 30 years or so. And he says that even reason and logic, you don't necessarily have to be a believer in God, but you can use reason and logic, and you can get up to the levels of 400, maybe 500 with reason and logic. But most people who are atheistic or nihilistic or just pure logic people, that's about where they cap out at, which I find interesting. And so, I guess what I'm really just trying to get at is there are levels to this, and the more we let go, the more baggage we let go of, the higher we rise. And it's all of our preferences that are tied up within these levels of consciousness. And it's typically not a profound shift where you just become, you know, you're level 250 and then all of a sudden you're vibrating at 900 or 1,000. I think most people would probably go into some kind of psychosis because it's a very bizarre thing to wake up. I've felt it, and I've felt like I've gone through about 3 awakenings in my life. Um, and to me, it's like it's been gradual, but every time I feel myself rise, I'm always left in this like period of I'm kind of like dazed and confused. I'm like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Until everything kind of stabilizes again. And thankfully I'm in this stabilization period that I am really enjoying right now. It's a period that I used to sabotage a lot. I used to throw a monkey wrench into this stabilization period. But I think that's because of a lot of old habits and a lot of insecurities and things that I had. I hadn't let those go yet. But if you're finding yourself miserable in your level of awareness, just know that we have to overcome these preferences. We have to regulate our nervous systems, which is very, very important. Something that I've learned recently. We have to kind of burn through this dead wood of emotion that is stored up in our bodies that we have always suppressed and let down. And then we got to use our awareness to help us bridge those gaps into these new levels of awareness. And sticking with it is always hard, being very consistent. And it's also a paradox too, because it's like the more you try to become aware, the more you try to be more conscious or enlightened, you're actually working against yourself. You're creating it into a destination. And really it's like it's the difference between doing and non-doing, and creating a destination is doing, and non-doing is just being present effortlessly. And by doing that, you reach higher levels, but it feels like you're not doing anything. So it's like counterintuitive, right? Like, how do I get somewhere that I'm not trying to go? And it's just a noticing. It's just a very subtle noticing. And that's what I want you to keep in mind here. It's just a subtle noticing. When you're noticing that you're disturbed or perturbed or something is bothering you or this or that, just notice, there's there it is. There they are. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to grab onto it. You don't have to try to push them away. You don't have to do anything. You just have to notice that it's there and allow it to move move by you just like a cloud in the sky. So I'm not really sure what inspired this video to happen right now. I just came wandering out in the desert like I normally do, and I typically just try to let something move through me. This is another video in a series of videos that I'm calling streams of consciousness, where I'm just trying to jump on screen here and let ideas unfold and talk through them and figure it out as I go, um, like many people have in the past, wandering through the desert. And so I'm hoping that you're enjoying these. This is all an attempt to help me express myself, help me to really formulate and, I don't know, just like I said, be able to express my ideas and myself better, and to be able to talk through some stuff. So I appreciate you listening and watching if you made it this far, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, much love. Peace.